SV Math Teach back again, this time with linear systems of equations. Now, if you're in Algebra 2, you've already done systems of equations, probably 2 by 3, meaning 2 equations, 2 unknowns. We're not going to do that now, right? We're going to talk about something that's more challenging. So we're going to be talking about 3 equations and 4 columns. And if you have a 3 by 4, it's a little overwhelming to look at it all. So there's 2 techniques you can try to use. I have some very generic kind of instructions here because I think you're going to pick these up pretty quick. The concept behind elimination, the very first technique, would be that you want to take one of your columns. Let's get cleaned up here. So you're going to take your X column, your Y column, or your Z column. It doesn't matter that they're X, Y, and Z. It just matters that there are 3 variables lined up. And you want to eliminate one of the columns. It doesn't matter if it's X, it doesn't matter if it's Y, it doesn't matter if it's Z, but you're going to use some multiplication and adding, or multiplication and subtraction, maybe a little division and adding, or division and subtraction. You're going to get rid of your X's, your Y's, and your Z's, the same way you did it whenever you did a simple elimination back in Algebra 1. What you're going to end up with is something like I have in the circle. Now this is assuming that we got rid of the Z's. You would have the X column and the Y column remaining behind, and it would be equal your number, whatever the constant is. You just solve this 2 by 3, and then you're going to have your X value and your Y value. And keep in mind that if you eliminated X, you would end up with, in this one, you would end up with Y and Z. That's fine, solve for Y and Z. It doesn't make any difference. Once you solve for the 2 things here, so once you know these 2 numbers, you simply plug those numbers back into any of the 3 equations in whatever location they're supposed to go. So in my case, I have an X, so I'd put it in the X. I have a Y, I'd put it in the Y, and then you just solve that last equation. And again, the truth is, if you want to put it in the second equation or you want to put it in the first equation, that's all up to you. But for the purposes of this video, let's go ahead and just assume you put it at the bottom, solve for Z, and then your answer will be X, Y, Z. That's how you do it. It's like a 3-part ordered pair. Ordered triple, I guess. Substitution, same general concept, right? Once again, we're not going to go through the exact example because they're all so different, but I still have my three rows, or my 3 equations, and I have my 4 columns, X, Y, Z, and my constant. So same concept. I'm going to go ahead and choose one of the equations. It doesn't matter which one. For the purposes of this video, I decided to pretend it was the first one. You're going to go ahead and take that first equation, or any of the equations, and solve for a variable. Once again, it doesn't really make any difference what variable you solve for. You could solve for X, Y, or Z. You just want to get one of them by themselves. So I decided to solve for X. And then you take this value, whatever's equal to X, or whatever's equal to the variable that you solve for, and you substitute this piece in your other 2 equations in the X spot. When you have that, then you're going to end up with just 2 variables and 2 equations. Solve that system, substitute just like we did at the end of the previous problem. Substitute those 2 numbers back into, now this is the only real kicker here, you have to substitute back into the other equation. So like if I start with my first equation and then I work towards the second and third, you take that second and third answer and you put it back in the first. And in this example with the Y and the Z, I'd put it Y and Z, solve for X, and then you'd be done, one more time, you'd be done with your X, your Y, and your Z. So a very kind of generic overview of systems with elimination and substitution, but that should get you going.